Hello, and welcome to another episode of And All Shall Be Well. I'm your host, Megan Rohrer. Today's conversation is with Precious Green. When I originally invited Precious to be a part of the podcast, I did so because I hear a lot of people talking about the fact that conversations about politics are stifling people, that people don't necessarily know what to do when they live in a world where people are on very extreme opposing political sides from each other, and they don't necessarily know how to move forward in a world where all of the news is catastrophic and chaotic and encouraging splits and divisions, and where social media sometimes is only highlighting splits and divisions. And so how do we move forward, particularly in a world where sometimes people live on the surface, where they just ask things like, how are you? And aren't necessarily interested in the fullness of that answer. In this second of three conversations, Precious shares a little bit about how she is transforming that way that we have conversations by living in the present and being a palpable sparkle and encouraging the sparkle in others as an intentional contrast to this division that seems to be everywhere. I hope this conversation inspires you to consider sparkling more often. I'm serious. I'll probably break it into two or three and just be like, Precious has a lot of wisdom, y'all. Listen
she's
to it.
back. And
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
back. My name is Precious Green, and I am, I should say, professionally, I am the Director of Community and Partnerships, as well as the House Moderator at Manny's. And basically, that means I get to talk with an incredible array of people about so many issues, primarily around civics and politics, but also around medicine, around technology, around community, even around loneliness, which is pretty impactful. So that's me. At the end of the day, like, whatever we need to do or say to ourselves to, you know, feel our sparkle. Gosh, I feel like I'm one of those people on Instagram. It's like, oh my gosh, let me help you get your sparkle. Join my coaching. And I'm like, oh my goodness, stop. No coaching. But whatever you need to do it, that's healthy and legal, do it. And, that extends certainly how you dress, how you show up in the world, how you talk to yourself. That's another one of those for this new year. I'm like, girl, we got to work on this self-talk. Like, ooh, like, and you sit there, I sit there, sometimes I'm like, who hurt you? Who hurt me? Kind of thing. And it's like, but you get scared. And I've been told that a lot of that voice is actually your mind trying to help you, because our lizard brain is like, yo, there's a fire around the corner and a bear and thunderstorms and a rock slide. So get out of here. You can't do it, kind of thing. But I'm like, I live in a city, in an apartment. There may be bears, but they're up the hill, and so it's like, yeah, well, this conversation is letting me know wellness is work, but it's good work. It's worthwhile. It's fun. It should be fun. It's lovely. It's revealing. It can also be challenging. I mean, because part of wellness is, going to that yoga class and thinking you're cute and you can keep up. And then you're like, oh, this is the wrong class, as I've had that experience. I speak for myself. But knowing that in the end, that stretch or that pain is just a moment, and the you that comes out of it is going to be amazing. So.
Well, sign me up for How to Sparkle More coaching plan. I want to show up for that. Yes. No, and I'm going to join you. I'll commit to joining you on the "We're going to talk nicer to ourselves in our head" journey over this next year and maybe over the next and all of our lives, maybe.
Absolutely.
Right?
But honestly, right now, the goal is let us get through this month
Ooh, yeah.
talking, watching how we talk to ourselves, even on days where I don't leave my apartment for a variety of reasons. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I did not go outside today. People ask, how you doing? And I was like, why do Americans ask that question when we know good and well we actually aren't invested in the answer? Because I was answering, and I remember sitting with someone, they're like, hey, how you doing? And it went on and on, and I like got teary-eyed, and the person was just like, help me, help me, help me. And then I was just like, oh, I've got to come up with a new answer. But then I was also like, well, no, why do I have to come up with a new answer? You asked the question of me. If you didn't want to really know, then don't ask the question, or and so I was like, a moment. Um, but talking with you, like I know I give credit to living in the Bay, and the invitation to just be open to all the options, all the crayons in the box. Um, but I think really the seed for that for me was planted actually by both of my grandparents, but I'll say particularly my grandmother because she was such a large part of my adult years. Um, and one of the a couple of the stories that come up for me is remembering I have my god sibling is trans, and so she didn't change her name. Her name was already, could work with anyone. And, she loved my grandmother. And when she began her transition, we talked, we would have these great conversations. She's one of the smartest people I know. And I love being around smart people, particularly when they're not obnoxious about it. Because I'm like, oh, wow, if you're that smart, maybe I'm that smart. It's all self-interest. But you know, her acceptance of who she is meant to be and who she always was hard, uh, to put it mildly. Her dad is one of these very macho, not macho. I don't want to say macho because it has so many negative connotations, but that very sort of masculinity, um, black man. He is a Tuskegee Airman. Did all these things, and she's his only child, and they are clearly cut from the same cloth because they're both kind of uh, bullheaded and stubborn. And they haven't been able to bridge um, this inflection point. And I remember when, um, you know, her dad would reach out to my grandmother. He was very close to my grandmother, and he would come to visit, and it was just like, just rapid fire frustration. And I was like, bro, I'm not up in that. Like, I have I understand why she has made this decision. This is who she is. I accept her. I'm fine. It's literally no skin off my back. It does not change my love for this person. It expands it actually, because every once in a while she wears a cute pair of shoes. And I'm like, where did you get those shoes? Or a dress. And I'm like, hey, girl, So we've got a broader range of things to talk about. But, I was explaining to my grandmother what was going on because she was just so confused because I was using she, her, and he was still saying he, him. And grandma was like, what? And so I sat down with her on her sofa. I think I found a YouTube video with Laverne Cox, and I was like, let's watch this. And, it was like, Laverne Cox is like my sibling. Um, both were born and uh, were seen by the world as boys, and both realized at some point that they were meant to be seen as girls. I don't know how it happens. I don't know when it happens, but for some people, this happens. And so it's the same person. Like literally, I think thinking back, I was like, I literally was talking to her like she was a second grader, but still, circle of life. And I don't know if she still slipped up, you know, months later, years later, but in that moment, she got it. She was using the right pronouns, and she was just like, "Oh, okay." And that's freaking huge. In the South, like this notion, Georgia, Georgia's doing a little bit better, but it's still Georgia. But, all of the different, sad to say, some of the I guess the less than ideal generalizations around a lot of the Black community and its challenges around homophobia and a whole host of things. And she was just sitting there like, oh, okay. And then it was just like, oh, like I was surprised. And my parents still back and forth. And even when we were memorializing my grandma, because my god sister and her dad have not been in touch, and he wanted to talk about it. She wasn't able to come, and he wanted to talk about the relationship, and I was just like, bruh, man, please, what? But I realized that I was essentially like I was Switzerland in a way. Like, I will take what you say and I will tell her this. I will take what you say and I will tell him this, kind of thing, which no one wants to be in. But it was just like my grandmother who didn't need to get it. I mean, she's had more than done what she needed to do for the culture and society, and she got it. And she was just like, oh, okay, you know, just the fullness. She understood that, you know, for my god sister to live her fullest life, she had to turn back from some things and turn towards something even greater. And it was like really cool. After that dam broke open, I was like, oh my gosh, girl, season 13 of Drag Race has a woman from Arkansas.
Uh, and that's how you really make a beautiful 100th birthday
Yes,
party.
absolutely. When the drag artist Simone from Conway, Arkansas, I was like, I cannot believe Arkansas is on the map. No one's from Arkansas. Anytime I meet someone from Arkansas, I'm like, where? And then as soon as they say, I'm like, I don't know why I asked that question. All I know is Malvern and Little Rock. But wow, you're from there. you know, but I went to see Simone perform. And for my grandmother's birthday parties, we would always do these church fans because her birthday's in June. It's the South. And so her picture is on the front. And I was like, Simone, my grandmother is from Malvern. And she was like, what? And so she signed it. And I was like, Grandma, Simone. And she, of course, is just like, okay. But it was just so awesome. Like, she could, you know, just be. And someone else just being took nothing away from her, And I'm just like, it's so simple. A 5-year-old can understand it. And yet it seems when we become adults, we seem to decide this is my chance to complicate the world. And I like that. I will never forget that. Like, it was so awesome when she just was like, oh, okay, let's go, kind of thing. I was like, wow, she's pretty awesome. Obviously, again, thank you so much. I not just for the invitation to be a part, but for the idea of having the conversation. I think you bringing all that you have experienced and all that you know and your wisdom and recognition that this is a conversation that we need to have, bringing that to the public space is just going to be so helpful to so many people. um there's so much anger and upset and distress and lack of home training that is just running rampant. And I think there we just we're dealing with a deficit of care, a deficit of pauses, a deficit of real conversation, and a deficit of hugs. It's like COVID. Everybody lost those basic things and they're just running wild and there's no turning back, but there is a way back to being our better selves. And I think this conversation and conversations like it are a part of the way back. So thank you so much. This was a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you letting me talk.
But I want to add to the end of it. If there is a way that people want to contact you or be in touch or get Sparkle Consultancy support, or hang out at Manny's, whatever contact information is your something that you'd be comfortable sharing in the world. Is there anything you'd like to share?
Sure. If I'm being very, very honest, I'm kind of like the Gen Zers that I work with, where you can send me email. My personal inbox is, ooh. However, people can find me on Instagram. I think my handle is at PGITTY. It's my older brother's nickname for me. Or just look me up. My last name is Green, like the color. I was not named after a crayon like this kid in third grade thought I was. And then he got in trouble because he dumped all the crayons trying to find I love that story. Like, Casey. But yeah, I'm happy to connect with people there. That honestly is the easiest.
Thank you for listening to this conversation with Precious. This is the second of a 3-part series, and you are welcome to listen to the others before and after. And notice as you are listening that Precious is someone who has the capacity of having joy and sadness at the same time. Honor the ways that your body is able to hold both too. You're not just one thing. We're not the extremes that the world tries to pull us into being. We are so much more diverse, all of us. We are so much more emotionally complex, all of us. All simultaneously in need of hugs and support and love, and able, sometimes more than others, to support others too. Be kind to yourself today and every day. And if you don't have it in you, stop by again, and I'll remind you.